How's it going, everybody? I'm Kris Keefer. This is RacerXOnline.com, RacerX Films, and we are at a top secret location today, and we are here with the 2021 KTM 450 XCF. Been wanting to do some more off-road stuff for you guys out there, so we are here to evaluate this thing. It's more of a hybrid motorcycle. 95% of this bike is SXF related, but there are some things on here that are different. Of course, handguards, a larger tank, 18-inch rear wheel, different mapping, 1, 2, and of course traction control. We're going to talk all about that. Going to give you guys a little bit of information on if this bike is the right bike for you. You ride moto, you ride off-road. We're going to talk about that. I have a special guest today, Gary Sutherlin, 2017 AMA National Hare and Hound Champion and Works Champion. He's very familiar with this bike. He's an honest dude. I like that. So stay tuned. We're going to go riding. We're going to come back and BS a little bit about this bike. All right, so we wrapped up a day of riding the 2021 KTM 450 XCF. To my right is Gary Sutherlin. He has a lot of time on this bike. Like I said earlier, 2017 AMA National Hare and Hound Champion and Works Champion. He was on a different color bike then, but past that year, he was on a KTM, so he knows a lot about this bike. Now, we're going to break down something a little bit for you guys because this is a hybrid motorcycle. I'm more of a moto guy. Gary is more of an off-road guy. So I like to go ride turn tracks in the desert, go jump some things, as you guys can see in the film here. Gary likes to go ride some technical trails, some rocks, single track. So I really wanted to hone in on this bike right now for you guys out there to see exactly if it's capable to do both in one day. Granted, there wasn't huge jumps here, but I did test it out a little bit today. So
just look under the rear fender.
yeah. So first of all, Gary, what do you think of this bike? I guess you don't have a bike right now, but you said you would purchase one of these bikes.
Yeah, I feel like overall, like KTM, is known for ready to race, right? And I think they nailed it on that, nailed it with this bike as far as being able to take it anywhere you want to go. I can with the airfork, and we'll get into that.
Yep.
Like, there's a lot of tunability to be able to take it to a motocross track, or I can change some things up and go ride tracks or trails or whatever I want to ride. So I haven't been on let's see, I rode one all in 19 and a little bit last year before I got injured, and they made some big changes in 20. Like, from what I remembered, stock stuff back in 1920. Like, there's been a lot of improvement that I think went the right direction and that I'm really happy with.
So let's get in the engine. So for this XCF, the only thing different with the engine is the mapping. So 1 and 2, I prefer number 2, a little bit harder hitting. I've been riding the SXF a lot, and I do notice that there's less vibration coming through the XCF versus the SXF. I like the smooth character. It still has that nature of the SXF where it's smooth and broad and easy to use. You can't really lug it as much as a YZFX in third gear, but it likes to use second gear. So when you're on a KTM, don't forget to use second gear because it's really long and broad. I also appreciate how much rear wheel connection I have from my throttle hand to the rear wheel. Easy to ride in slippery conditions today. So either wet slick or dry slick, I still think this KTM is one of the better bikes to get that power to the ground. So engine character, you're a bigger dude. How much you weighing? He loves this, by the way.
We're not going to talk about that, but let's put it. I'm 10, 15 more than what I normally would be racing right now. Since being off the bike for almost a year now. But as far as
Is there enough power for you here to do what you want to do?
Oh, plenty of power. Yeah. No, and I actually today with the conditions, I actually liked map 1 for like the trail stuff I was doing. With the slick conditions, I actually ran it in map 1, little smoother on the bottom, little mellower hit, and I actually enjoyed that a little bit better than 2. I did try 2. When we went down the sand, I put it in map 2 and rode it down there, and I definitely like that more aggressive hit and stuff for that. And I probably would run map 2 for motocross tracks or something like that.
Yeah, for me, this engine is one of the easiest to ride, like I mentioned. And again, if you're a guy that's worried about having too much power, I would say the KTM 450 power plant is the easiest for you guys to ride out there. If you're not in shape, or if you're a little bit bigger, or if you're a little bit lighter, I think it does all of that really well. So nice engine package, the XCF. Again, I'm more of a map 2 preferred guy, a little bit more RPM response, but nonetheless, you have that option there on the handlebar, which is nice. We'll move on to the air fork. Now, before I go into this, I always give WP a hard time about this fork. I will say the settings that they came up with are very forgiving. It's a softer feel. Now, I'm sure Spencer can cue in the case that I had today. There's a little jump out here near where we were testing, and I tested the suspension out, and it is soft. So if you are a hardcore moto guy, if you're a 70-30 moto to off-road, it's going to be a little bit soft. I'm 170 pounds. It does move a lot in the stroke, but when you look at Gary's video and you watch him going through some rocks or some fast chop, it moves enough and it soaks up a lot of that stuff well. I noticed that as well. So I would say it's more 60% off-road, 40% moto for my weight. But Gary, what do you think about it?
I also for a while wasn't a fan of the air fork, but recently I actually raced some stock air fork stuff at more of a trail style race, and I actually think this setting for like the average guy going to the track like Glen Helen in the afternoon or like REM or something like that. This has the comfort and luckily with the air fork and being able to tune the shock, the valving actually feels a little more open and free feeling.
Yep.
So like that small square edge chop that you're gonna encounter at like those tracks, and you're not hitting those huge jumps, like you're not going to Paula or something like that and hitting jumps. I feel like this suspension is perfect for both actually. Like there's enough tunability and range with it that I think for me, I could ride it. I can ride it at the motocross track. I can stiffen it up, even for like Glen Helen or Paula. I could ride it, and then I can back everything off and open it up because I like that soft open feel. So I think it's all around. I think it's a good, like they nailed their base setting pretty good, and I'm happy to put some more time on it.
So Gary, chassis wise, you like to go way faster than I would like out in the desert. So stability, cornering, where you at with this XCF model?
With the new generation chassis stability, when they drop so much weight with the bike, that at the beginning was kind of I struggled with that a little bit.
Yeah, you were a little worried about that.
Yeah, like not being planted and stuff. And so I know over the years they've changed some things. And like today when I rode it, I definitely noticed a little front end like in the sand. And I don't know if that was maybe the tire or not, but I've rode some heavier bikes in the past when I was on different brands, and I think the chassis, honestly, for all around, like the bike is like right down the middle good. It's not like, oh, I have great stability to where it's like
It doesn't corner.
it doesn't corner. So it's right in the middle where it's like it does everything good right now. Like you can take it, you can go fast with your buddies out, across the desert if you want. You can go turn it on tight technical trails.
So to go off what Gary was saying, as you can see in the video, I rode a turn track, which we have a lot of here in the desert. I build turn tracks a lot. I like to do those things. This thing is light enough, and I can start my lean earlier than other hybrid motorcycles. So hybrid motorcycles are RXs, FXs, things like that. I like that this thing still feels light like an SX version. Um, I'm not going Mach 10 like Gary down a trail, so to me, stability is still good enough for me that I don't have to worry about that. And like Mr. Sutherlin said, it does everything well. So if I was this 50-50 type of rider and I wanted some lightweight feel, I wanted some connection to the rear wheel, this bike encompasses all those things. The vibration is down from the SXF. I still would put different bars on. This bar, this neck and bar that comes with it is stiff. And I would also change the AT81 tires. I'm not a Dunlop AT81 kind of guy. Gary, you've had a lot of times on these inherent hounds. Do they chunk? Do they last? What's up with these things?
I love the AT81 rear. The straight line traction you get for like off road riding, I think is really really good. Corner knobs like definitely doesn't corner as well as like what is a 33, you know.
Yeah.
But the front, I'm not a huge fan of. I never really ran the 81 front in off road. I definitely ran like the 52 back then, and now 53s. They're really good. But I do like the 81 rear for trail riding.
It's nice to have an 18-inch rear wheel. I'm not a big 18-inch guy. I do notice a lot of cushion going from a 19 to an 18. So if you're a moto guy, wondering what it does, stability is up. Lean in is a little bit heavier, but you get a lot of cushion on an 18-inch. All right, so on the KTM, you guys know it comes with a lot of high-quality parts. Hydraulic clutch, Brembo brakes. Every time I get on a KTM, man, these brakes are amazing. If you guys don't know what they feel like, Gary, you come from a Yamaha, Nissan background on Brembo. What's the difference for these guys out here?
Honestly, just the braking power is so much more increased stock right out of the box. Like, don't have to mess with anything. You know you're gonna be able to stop, and it always. I don't have any fade issues.
No, not grabby for you?
Mm, Sometimes depends if I'm pumped up or not, but no, but they can be if you're riding something with not a lot of brakes,
Right.
you know, and then you come to this, yes, they can become a little grabby.
Reliability. We don't talk enough about this kind of thing. I've had KTM's in the shop many, many hours. Gary, if there's someone that wants durability testing done, this guy will help you break your parts. And if it lasts with this guy, it's a damn good bike. So you've worked on these things. You know what comes loose. You know what breaks. How are these, XCFs in reliability world?
I honestly, all the years that I've raced the KTM's, the only thing that I've had to change really is clutch rubbers,
Okay.
and I upgraded those to a recluse clutch rubber,
Yep.
and I can get clutch after clutch after clutch without having to change the rubbers. And honestly, after that, it's just common maintenance, like changing the oil and just running them. Because
I do notice that the hangers on the bolts, they come loose, right? So do you Loctite those or what do you do?
they have a little. You can actually get a little bit longer bolt. KTM sells a longer bolt for that, and just Loctite it, and it's a little longer. Add just a couple more threads, and for some reason, it helps hold it in.
And I break a ton of rear brake pedal springs. Gary, what do you do? Because those things the last 2 hours and they're gone.
Either the Honda brake pedal spring or Fast Company makes a like spring that goes on the back where the plunger's at, and seems to solve that problem.
So reliability, if you guys are wondering, KTM's are good and last a long time. I've ran over 100 hours on them with no top end, so it can be done. So going off of the larger tank here, I know you've put larger ones on for racing, but you ride a lot of trails out here, and you've gone farther than I would like to at times. So the range, mileage-wise, on this tank?
I think it kind of depends on how you're riding it. Depends on the conditions, but I think you could easily get 45, 50 miles out of these.
East Coast guys too. You guys listening to this, you guys probably get a lot more because it's slower speed. Speaking of East Coast guys, because I get yelled at a lot for not talking about them, how do you think this bike overall would be in the slimy, snotty, rooty type of condition? Is it too much bike?
No, I think you definitely with the opportunity to change the maps from one and traction control and all that stuff like we talked today. I rode it in like some slipperier conditions and stuff, never on the East Coast, but it handles that though. The way the power delivers and the way that the bike connects to the ground, I think is all around is good for the East Coast for all that slippery rocks and root stuff.
All right, guys. So that's kind of our first impression of this bike. We're gonna do more stuff with this KTM in the future. I'm gonna try to do an off-road hybrid shootout up here on RacerXOnline.com soon, and really hone in on you 50-50 type of rider. I think there's a lot of you guys out there. Gary is one of them. He still rides moto. He still goes on a lot of trail rides. He rides technical stuff. I'm more of a 70-30 guy. I mean, if that, you're probably going to say, okay, here he comes.
80-20, like 90-10 maybe.
Yeah.
If the conditions are perfect and there's not a lot of rocks, you'll go trail riding.
I have no comeback for that. I've been riding more moto than off-road lately. But nonetheless, very fun bike. Just don't take it off your kickers like I did today and case something, because you will see what it does. If you can, Spencer will come back here and show the black marks on the rear fender. Just know it's a little soft. Very fun bike to ride. So thank you, KTM. We'll be back with more information on RacerXOnline.com. And of course, 12 issues, RacerX, $30. Get a calendar. Get 12 issues of things that you can't read online. Very cool stuff over there. So don't forget to subscribe to RacerX publication, and we'll see you on the next intro.
See ya.
Bye-bye.